Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome online. We are live streaming all around the world right now, and we're going to put on a 30-second timer, which is your opportunity to check in the Zoom room right now. Is all the guests you've invited on? If not, this is your opportunity to reach out and do us a favor in the meantime, type in exactly where you're watching us from around the world. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, if you've joined us today and you don't speak fluent English, that's totally okay. We do have closed captions. You can read along on YouTube and here in the Zoom room, so have a quick listen to this.
Por favor, vaya a la parte inferior de la pantalla en Zoom o YouTube y haga clic en subtítulos para leer en español.
Kérlek, menjünk képernyő aljára, a Zoomon vagy a YouTube-on, a Closed Caption részre, és ott el tudod olvasni magyarul a feliratot.
Silakan klik di layar bawah pada Zoom atau YouTube dan klik caption untuk membaca dalam bahasa Indonesia.
Pour les sous-titres en français, veuillez cliquer au bas de votre écran Zoom ou YouTube sur CC ou Closed Captions.
Zoom または YouTube の画面の下部に移動し、字幕をクリックして日本語で読んでください。
請到屏幕底部點閱隱藏字幕以閱讀中文。
Παρακαλώ πηγαίνετε στο κάτω μέρος της οθόνης, στο Zoom ή στο YouTube και κάντε κλικ στους υπότιτλους για να τα διαβάσετε στα ελληνικά.
请到屏幕底部点击隐藏字幕以阅读中文。
אנא עברו לתחתית המסך בזום וביוטיוב ולחצו על תרגום לכתוביות בעברית.
Proszę zejść na dół ekranu na Zoomie lub YouTubie i kliknąć napisy, żeby przeczytać po polsku.
Beautiful. Welcome online, ladies and gentlemen. For those people who are in Australia, I'm not sure if you can hear it in the background. If you can hear a bird, it's raining right now. We have a magpie right at my window staring in and got a beautiful noise. So I'm not sure if you can hear it. If you hear it in the background, it's really cool. So guys, we have people logged in today from all over the place. We've got Las Vegas, New Zealand, Western Australia, Perth, Arizona, the Caribbean, or the Caribbean, as I always say, depends, tomato, tomato. Canada, Panama, welcome. Philippines, Indonesia. Wow, great call last night. Thank you. I'm not sure which one that was. I did 3 yesterday. Boca Raton, Florida, and Marlborough Sounds. And yes, it is great to hear all the different languages. So welcome online, ladies and gentlemen. Now, what I love about Members Night is the fact that we do live stream into many different places. So it's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, it's here in the Zoom room, and we get lots of playbacks. Last week, we had Dr. Johnathan Glass speak. First time I'd heard him. And I got heard rave reviews from the field. And so we invited him on to speak, and he spoke about glutathione and your liver health. And guys, we had so much positive feedback. We begged him to come back again. And we also had a lot of playbacks. Like I've seen more playbacks on YouTube from that than I have seen from a lot of events, which is fantastic. So with that in mind, we're really blessed that he has come back today again. And he's going to cover off this time a different organ in the body and the impact of glutathione. So with that in mind, please give a big welcome for Neumi to Dr. Johnathan Glass.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here. I love talking about this topic. It doesn't ever feel like work to me. I love our product and I love the topic of glutathione. So tonight I'd like to just do a little summary about glutathione, and we will definitely get to the product itself. And I also want to make a connection to the importance of glutathione and the lungs. Last week we talked about the liver and the gallbladder, and we're going to talk about it from a, more of a scientific perspective, but also from a ancient wisdom perspective, Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, and these ancient systems of medicine and healing are extremely pertinent for today. And there's so much information that they have that can bring us a lot of value today. So glutathione is often referred to the master antioxidant. It's a tripeptide from glutamate, cysteine, and glycine. So 3 amino acids. And what they do is that it's primarily made in the liver. Each cell makes it, and interestingly enough, the second most concentrated part of the body that has glutathione is the lining of the lungs, which is just amazing. So glutathione is a powerful antioxidant. Most people kind of know what free radicals are. When a car drives, the exhaust that comes out of the car is basically the oxidation that happens, but that happens inside the body and it stays inside the body. So we need to clean that up. And this is what our antioxidants do. But glutathione is the master antioxidant that helps the body to clear toxins, heavy metals, chemicals, herbicides, pesticides, all the thousands of chemicals that we're exposed to these days. Also internally generated toxins. It helps to manage inflammation processes. It helps the red blood cell connect in the hemoglobin, and I'll talk about more of this tonight, with the oxygen molecule, which is extremely important. You can have all the oxygen you want in the blood, but if you don't have healthy hemoglobin with the right kind of iron and the right amount of glutathione, then that oxygen will not properly attach to the red blood cell. And the red blood cells, as we know, are so important because they carry oxygen and nutrients to every cell of the body. And we'll touch on that a little bit later. The other thing, amazing thing with glutathione is that it regulates the immune system. It has it helps the body create white blood cells, but it also helps regulate the immune system. And many people don't know how important that regulation is because if you turn on the immune system and it doesn't turn off appropriately, then the body will stay stuck in an inflammatory mode, which is one reason when people get sick, whether it's this virus or that virus, it doesn't have to be modern, any virus, that the body gets sick and gets an inflammatory process. Oftentimes it doesn't shut down properly. Then it creates more inflammation, and then people tend to get a secondary infection. So the immune system, that regulatory effect is super, super important. Okay, so those are some of the main benefits of glutathione. And tonight, when I talk about the benefits of glutathione, I am not making any claims to our product, but we can keep in mind what our product actually is. It's an amazing source of delivery of glutathione and the precursors, the building blocks of glutathione, which is also extremely important. So how does glutathione affect the lungs? Well, first of all, it's in the lining of the lung tissue. So it's an antioxidant defense immediately. As soon as we breathe in, oxygen itself is oxidative, right? It also helps the body bind to and deal with pollution and chemicals and particulates, anything that comes into the body that is not supportive of the tissue of the body. Glutathione acts as a defense to immediately handle those toxins that come into the lungs. It also helps, this is super important. Now, iron is something that's actually quite misunderstood. There are basically two types of iron, heme iron and non-heme iron. Heme iron is what's called Fe2, non-heme iron is Fe3. Now, we get Fe3 from vegetables and plants and things like that. Fe2 tends to come from animal products. But the beautiful thing is whether you're taking iron in with plant foods or animal foods, the body has an ability to transform that Fe3 into Fe2. Now, Fe2 is the form of iron that's required in the hemoglobin, which is the oxygen-carrying protein in the red blood cell. That iron has to be in the form of Fe2 in order for it to attract oxygen. Okay, many people have difficulty transferring Fe3 into Fe2, into that usable form. And guess what is primarily important for that process to happen, and that is glutathione. Now, that's super important because iron is one of those things. It's perhaps the most important mineral in our body. However, it's also the most oxidative. If you put a piece of iron metal out in the rain and then leave it out there for a day, it starts getting rusty practically immediately. That happens inside the body. Many people are walking around with iron stores in their body that are oxidizing like crazy and causing all kinds of inflammation, and then later, much more serious problems. So having clean, healthy, non-oxidized, sufficient amounts of non-oxidized iron in the body is hugely important for carrying that healthy oxygen throughout the body. Now, it also protects and stabilizes what's called pulmonary surfactant. And that is the sort of like a membrane, a liquid membrane that puts the right amount of pressure on the alveoli, which are these vesicles and little units of the lung tissue that help the air when you breathe in. It's that surface area where the gases of the oxygen then get into the bloodstream. So if that surfactant has the wrong pressure, then what happens, those alveoli begin to, they don't really burst, they flatten. So they no longer hold their surface tension and are able to properly take in that oxygen. So glutathione is essential for that membrane of the alveoli, that surfactant, to make sure that the alveoli and the lungs stays healthy and usable. So it also helps in the alveoli. The immune system helps the macrophages, which is part of the immune system, deal with bacteria, viruses, and debris without excessive tissue damage. So when the lungs are exposed to so many things, that can cause inflammation. So the glutathione on that membrane helps prevent oxidation, thus inflammation. And with too much inflammation, what happens? The lung tissue starts getting inflamed. Then it gets irritated. And if something is inflamed and irritated long enough, what happens? It gets injured. That tissue becomes injured. It doesn't function well. It becomes stiff. And it can even in time develop scar tissue. So it also controls inflammatory cytokines. Just like I mentioned, there's the inflammatory cytokines, which are they're actually necessary for the immune system. You want your body to inflame initially for immune response, but after that, you want it to deflame. And that is what the glutathione does in the lung tissue. And this is why, again, someone can get a virus and then they can get a secondary bronchial infection or long-term ongoing lung issues. And that's because of so much damage to that lining of the lung tissue. And we have a lot of, symptoms that can manifest more because of a lack of glutathione. For example, reduced glutathione can contribute to asthma, things like asthma. And again, I'm just reminding everybody, I'm not making any claims of our product. I'm just saying what glutathione is known to do. It also can contribute to what's called COPD or emphysema, and which actually leads to scar tissue in the lungs. Pulmonary fibrosis, another form of a lung disease that relates to the lungs begin to scar. All of these diseases are rooted in inflammation in the lung tissue, too much oxidation, too much damage of the tissues, and then there's a whole possible trajectory of what happens after that. The tissue gets damaged. There's different stages of disease. In Ayurveda, we say there's 6 stages of disease. Once the tissue gets damaged enough, then it's a whole nother ball game, because now the body is protecting itself, but the tissue stiffens, it scars, calcium builds up in the tissue, things harden, and the lungs no longer work efficiently or effectively. So things like viruses, the viruses that we've had over the last few years, all of these things cause a great deal of oxidation in the body. So what is the greatest protector of oxidation? Glutathione. So we're very, very fortunate that we have a product that is so incredibly efficient in giving us not only glutathione itself, but the precursors, cysteine, and things like turmeric, and wonderful ingredient in a form that the body can utilize instantly and immediately. So that's just a little bit of basics. Now, I want to just touch on one thing. I'm pretty passionate about this, is that we can take a substance like our incredible product, but we don't want to think of it like a drug. We want to think of it as something that can enhance the quality of our life. And guess what? If we eat well, if we moderately exercise and detoxify with our breath and our sweat, and we drop the junk food for the most part, maybe at different events throughout the year, but drop the junk food. If we hydrate nicely, if we eat relatively clean, and as I recommend, do some kind of cleanse once or twice a year, guess what? You're going to get so much more out of any wonderful product like ours that we already have. So we shouldn't think, oh, taking this product gives me license to forget about quality food, quality lifestyle, healthy breathing, healthy exercise, natural and supported detoxification. Because the world that we're living in right now, we have over 100,000 chemicals known in our environment. Only 20,000 of those have ever been tested for human safety, and none of them are ever tested for synergistically and working together. So it's really, really important to take the right nutrients, take our incredible products, and at the same time, take care of ourselves. That's really, really important. And so wherever you're at, always lean into eating healthier. Always lean in, if you like your alcohol, always lean into less is better. Take care of your liver, take care of your blood, take care of your glutathione supplies. Because anytime we add these negative things into our diet, guess what? We're using up our glutathione stores. That's what we're doing. You know, if you go out and eat like horribly on a Friday night and you take your product in the morning, then you're just dealing with the oxidation that you caused the night before. It's not gonna put you in the positive necessarily immediately, because you're dealing with the oxidation, the stress, the inflammation that you've caused the day before. So I'm mentioning that because that is a huge passion of mine. So the other thing is, this thing about iron is so important. Again, iron, a lot of times people think, oh, I'm low iron, so therefore I need to take iron. A lot of times people are low iron because their liver is toxic and their body is holding on to iron in the organs of the body due to inflammation and not releasing it into the red blood cells. So taking iron often will make someone feel better for a week or two, and then they'll start getting more toxic. The real thing is to help the liver, help the blood, help the lungs, increase the stores of glutathione, and then you're going to start utilizing that iron more effectively and more efficiently. That's so important. So now I want to touch on a little bit of Chinese medicine and Ayurveda. It's a beautiful perspective. So in Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, it's described that the lungs receive the pure qi from the heavens. And what the heck does that mean? This is the description. So the lungs receive pure energy. What is that energy? It's in the form of air. Now, when we breathe properly, when you breathe nicely, what happens? We tend to be more present in the moment. If you're holding your breath, generally speaking, we're either thinking about something in the past or worried about something in the future. So when we regulate the breathing process, it helps us get present. So good breathing and healthy lungs with the support of our incredible product can help us actually be more present. That might sound crazy, but that's the reality. Healthy breathing, healthy lungs helps us be more present. And I'm sure you've all experienced that, whether it's been through, even if you go for a nice run, or sometimes we get in a swim, you get into a groove, all of a sudden you feel that really pleasant, sometimes blissful feeling of being really present. Or just you're going for a walk and your breathing is nice and free and open, then you're really present, you're really in the moment. So it brings in really healthy energy. It brings in energy that helps us to be present. It's described that the lung energy helps us appreciate the preciousness of the moment. And it's actually described like this, even during mundane activities, like doing the dishes or making the bed or brushing your teeth, all the ordinary activities of life, which sometimes can feel like drudgery. But if you're actually in the moment, if you're breathing, if you're connected to yourself, then those activities actually can be quite pleasant. So the lungs are so important physically, mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually. It's described like that. So there's also another interesting component here, because the lungs are directly related to the large intestine. Okay, we call that the vata energy, or what's called the metal element in Chinese medicine. So the lungs bring in pure qi, pure energy, pure life energy. And what does the large intestine do? It releases that which doesn't serve us. So physically, we're releasing the non-nutrient part of the food that we've eaten, okay? But we're also releasing, this is from an ancient wisdom perspective, we're releasing negativity, we're releasing toxic emotions. It's about letting go. So the lungs are about bringing in that which is wonderful, and the large intestine is about letting go that's not needed. In these systems of medicine, we're always looking at from physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual levels. So sometimes we have an experience and it may be very challenging emotionally, but when we digest it and process it, what happens? Then we can let it go. So when somebody is constipated from these systems, it doesn't mean this, but we always want to look at what is happening on an emotional level. Is that person holding on to something? Have they not processed something? Have they not digested an experience in life that has been difficult? So it's really important to look at, when we're looking at the health of our lungs, the health of our large intestine, that we can even look at these other dimensions of our life and begin to appreciate how these organs are God-given, and they are just so amazing at helping us function in the optimal ways in life. So when we take good care of our lungs, when we take good care of our elimination process, then there's less toxins in the body. You know, if we don't detoxify properly, there's something called detox-retox. And what that means is we can eat good food, but if it stays in, or bad food, whatever, stays in the large intestine, eventually some of those toxins that are there can begin to leak back into the bloodstream. That's called detox-retox. We don't want to retox. We want to eliminate properly. So having good elimination, good breathing is essential for human health. And of course, last week we mentioned the liver, which is super important too for detoxification. So all of these systems work together for our optimal well-being. Coming back to glutathione and to our product, to Neumi, to Swish, an amazing product. It gets right into the bloodstream. We put it in our mouth. We swish it for 30 seconds. Some people like to do a minute. Some people like to do 2 minutes, but at least 30 seconds. And it's nanoparticle, super tiny, in an envelope of water, an ultra purified water, gets into the bloodstream immediately, bypasses the stomach, bypasses, even other products like liposomal. Yes, it might get into the bloodstream, but then it has to make its way all the way to the cell, and that can be quite a journey and quite a challenge. And oftentimes by the time it gets there, it's already broken up into its into its three parts, and it has to reassemble once it gets back into the cell. Our product has this remarkable capacity and ability to get into the bloodstream and immediately into those red blood cells, which nourish the red blood cell, prevent oxidation of that iron, and of course the mitochondria, which are the engines of the cells, protecting them, protecting the iron, making the hemoglobin such that it can attach to oxygen. And when it does that, guess what? We have fuel, we have energy in the body. And then when we produce that energy, yes, we create free radicals. But guess what? We have plenty of glutathione to handle those free radicals. And also glutathione can give free electrons to other antioxidants like vitamin E, vitamin C, things like that. So it's an amazing, amazing product. One thing also that I'll just touch on before I wrap it up is that when our red blood cells are healthy, happy, non-oxidized, they are like little flat, somewhat flat donuts. They're not completely hollow in the middle, but they're like a disc. They're thick out here, they get thin in the middle, they get thicker out here. They are meant to be independent and swivel throughout the body so that they can go to all the extremities. So those red blood cells can go into the eyes, into the toes and the fingers, into all the little places and all the tiny capillaries in the body. So essential. When the blood gets toxic from diet, from toxins, from stress hormones, so many things can lead to this toxicity, and all the systems are related. So when that happens, then the blood literally loses its electrical charge and they all clump together. And under a microscope, it's called rouleau. It looks like a bunch of or thousands of pancakes all stacked up on top of each other. And when that happens, the red blood cells are no longer individual, they're a clump. And what happens? Our blood becomes sticky, it becomes thick, and it becomes unable to bring proper amounts of oxygen. And the body has to work harder. Sometimes people have high red blood cells in their blood. What is the reason for that? One reason is because the blood cells that they have are so clumpy that the body knows that and says, oh, we got to keep producing more blood, more blood, more blood in order to get the proper amounts of oxygen. Or if that iron is oxidized, what happens? The body has to create more blood, more blood, more blood, because the red blood cells that are already there aren't doing a very effective job because of all the oxidation, because of all the toxicity. So again, this is why if we use the dual approach of good diet, good lifestyle, I'm not talking about perfection, but doing your best, on a daily basis. Good diet, good lifestyle, good breathing. Exercise is awesome, right? We break a sweat, we release toxins through the breath, CO2 through the breath. We release toxins through the skin, through the urine, through the feces. The body likes to release toxins. When we do that, and then we take a product like our Neumi Swish, it is an amazing duo. Good diet, good lifestyle, plus our product, amazing. It's amazing anyway, even if you don't have a good diet. But your life will just go that much better. Your energy will be that much better. Your mental clarity will be that much better. Your healthy red blood cells will be much happier. Your iron will be in better shape, so you can actually utilize that iron rather than it gets stored into tissues of the body and cause inflammation and toxicity. So everything will work much better. So I think that's pretty much what I want to say tonight. If there's, I think if anybody has any questions, if we have any time for that, I'm happy to answer that. If not, no problem.
That was brilliant. But I did see a couple of questions.
Sure.
Well, one question during, but the questions are often medical related. So I just want to address that first, guys. And I'm going to drop something into the chat, which came out of the mouth of Bert, our scientist. Oops, actually wrong one. Copy paste the other one. So obviously we can't connect and Jonathan's done a beautiful job of not suggesting our product treats, cures, and prevents anything. Anytime someone asks me a question, can your product do this? Bert, our scientist, loves what is written in the chat right now. And if you guys want to copy and paste that, it's the only way as a member we can actually answer the question as a member. Now, as a doctor, external of this webinar, Dr. Glass could talk to his customers about lots of things you and I can't talk about because we're not medical professionals. But glutathione today, we talked about the ingredient, which is absolutely fantastic, but we didn't talk about our product treating, curing, or preventing anything. So take a screenshot of what that is in there in the chat, guys, because it'll be phenomenal. And I want you to do me a favor before, I won't say that yet, because if I do, it'll disappear. Everyone will type something. So copy and paste that first. But while you're doing that, before I do wrap it up, I just want to show you right now, this very second, if you go to the Neumi New You Facebook group, which is the official group run by the company, and you scroll down, guess what's already there playing back right now? Dr. Johnathan Glass. So you guys, yes, a few people clapping. And if you're not on social media, don't fret. Guess what? If you go to the Neumi official channel, guess what's there right now, ready to play back. You can actually go back and watch it at a later date. And as I said, last week, we might have had only a handful of people watch it then, but now we've had thousands of people on different channels watch that since, which is pretty exciting. So do me a favor. Please, in the chat, type in yes if you want to hear Dr. Johnathan Glass talk about another organ another time. I'm just going to keep coming back and coming back and coming back. There you go, Jonathan. Check out the chat. Yes,
that's good.
Beautiful. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time today. Thank you, Dr. Glass, and we'll look forward to seeing you all on some of the next events. Tomorrow, just to let you know, Steve Scott's event will be going ahead. It didn't happen last week, but it will be happening this week. I won't be hosting it, but somebody else will, and it will be a fantastic event. So pack it out with our founder.